I know you like that. I see the girls in the club, they getting wild for me. And all the pretty chicks all wanna be. These rap cats, man, they all got this.
Hello everybody. Hello everybody. Welcome to the Mid-American Conference podcast. It is Monday, August 29th, 2016. Hate to date the show, but we're going to be talking about some time-sensitive information. Thank you so much for joining me at Betsportsstrong for the first ever Mid-American Conference podcast. We are going to get right into things, and just to kind of let you know the purpose of this podcast, we're going to examine every game from the Mid-American Conference according to the Vegas lines. Now, the Mid-American Conference, if you're not a hardcore college football fan or you just follow the mainstream Power 5 teams, you may not know a lot about it, but during the course of the season, there's a lot of Mid-American Conference games that are going to be during the week, especially as we get later in the season. And there's a lot of opportunities to get money. Sometimes just sitting around in Vegas, you'll see Western Michigan playing Eastern Michigan on a Wednesday night, and guys want to make money at this stuff. So just so that you can make informed decisions, there's no such thing as a guarantee. We definitely don't support any illegal gambling. There's no such thing as a guarantee, but we're going to do our best we can to really break down and dive into the Mid-American Conference for you, not just making picks by the seat of our pants here. So we are going to get into it. Now, there are 12 games. Week 12. Week 1. There are 12 games from the Mid-American Conference. We are going to be breaking down 8 of those games because 4 of those games you cannot wager Vegas lines on. And just quickly, just to make sure everyone's being mentioned, Presbyterian College at Central Michigan on Thursday. Can't wager on that game. Mississippi Valley State at Eastern Michigan. Cannot wager at that game. That's on a Friday. Also on Friday is Albany State at Buffalo. Cannot wager on that game. And then on Saturday you have Virginia Military at Akron. So that's another game that you cannot wager on. But we do have 8 games that you can wager on. And before we get started, I want to let you know you can, of course, look at select articles at Betsportsstrong or Betsportsstrong, same website, along where you can find this broadcast. And then for my picks and then a lot of other handicappers, you can track us, a site that I'm relatively new on, at sportswatchmonitor.com. You can find a lot of free picks, you can purchase picks, and you can compare handicappers from all over. And then also you can subscribe and view my picks. I'm going back a little bit farther at Captain. That's CAPPEDIN.com. There's a lot of different handicappers at Captain. So check out Captain.com. On Captain, I'm Bet with a B, Betsportsstrong. On the Sports Watch Monitor, I'm Betsportsstrong. You can also go to GetSportsStrong.com. GetSportsStrong on Twitter, and then GetSportsStrong on Facebook. Any questions about the show, feel free to email us at betsportsstrong@gmail.com. So we're going to go ahead and get into some games here. We not wagering on every game, but I'm going to let you know the games and the matchups that I really like versus the ones that I don't like so much. So, as we're moving along here, let's see where's a good place to get started here. Matter of fact, let's start off on Saturday. Work backwards a little bit here. Let's start off on Saturday. Saturday at noon. One of the more, I guess I'd say, high-profile matchups in a sense. Because, definitely one of the more high-profile matchups because you have the Ohio State Buckeyes who are just, beat Notre Dame last year in a bowl game, won the national championship the year before that. So obviously we all know about the Ohio State Buckeyes. And then they're going to be playing the Bowling Green State University Falcons, who are the defending champions of the Mid-American Conference. So when you look at that, that is a very appealing matchup. Now, as we look into this game, currently the spread is 27.5 games. So that is a pretty sizable spread there. And on this particular game, last year Bowling Green was one of the more talented teams in the Mid-American Conference. Probably the most talented team, definitely at the skills position. And at the skills position, Bowling Green was nothing to take lightly, even for a Power 5 conference school. I mean, they had a quarterback, Matt Johnson. They had a great receiver in Roger Lewis, who actually had 2 more seasons of eligibility, but he decided to leave early for the NFL. They had Travis Green, a very talented running back there. And they won the MAC championship. Now, they did get thrashed by Georgia Southern in the Gold Daddy Bowl, 27-58. I mean, the defense just fell apart against that option offense. But besides that, I mean, Bowling Green, and they didn't play scrubs at all. Bowling Green was 10-4 last year, 7-1 in the MAC. Their losses was an opening season loss at the Tennessee Volunteers, 30-59. They then beat Maryland 48-27. They lost to they lost to Memphis 41-44. Then they beat Purdue at Purdue 35-28. So they were 2-0 against the Big Ten last year, and then they lost to Toledo 28-44, and then they finished the season with the 27-58 loss. But Bowling Green lost a lot of players. They do have 4 back on offense, 5 back on defense, and then Bowling Green also returns their punter. Now, they are starting off with Mike Jinks, who is going to be the new head coach. Dino Babers went on to Syracuse. Now, when Dino Babers was there, Bowling Green had the fastest pace, the quickest offense, and by quickest offense, I mean they had the shortest amount of time elapsed between plays, and I believe the last 2 seasons. So Mike Jinks comes over. He was an offensive assistant at Texas Tech, and then he also worked with the running backs. So with Mike Jinks coming over from Texas Tech, you expect a high-paced offense, especially with Bowling Green's history. That should not change at all. Offense should be effective, although they are starting a new quarterback after losing Matt Johnson. Now, the Ohio State Buckeyes, on paper, you're probably thinking, why are we talking about this? Ohio State's going to crush Bowling Green, right? Well, not necessarily. Bowling Green does have a history of playing Ohio State tough in the past, not necessarily with this roster, though. Now, Ohio State only has 3 starters back on offense and 3 starters back on defense, although they are very talented. Now, last year, we know Ohio State, the season's over, so we know what Ohio State was, and they played 2 MAC teams. Now, the spread here is 27.5. They beat Northern Illinois, a team that Bowling Green ended up beating at the end of the season in the MAC championship game. Ohio State only beat Northern Illinois 20-13, and they beat Western Michigan 38-12 by 26. Ohio State in the past, they've had a history sometimes of with the Mid-American Conference not really blowing them out. Sometimes they've played down to their competition at times. I'm going to say right now, I'm not wagering this game, 27.5 points. I don't like this spread. But if I was going to wager, if you really want to wager, take Bowling Green, okay? This might sound silly, but for those of you who may not know, Urban Meyer began his coaching career at Bowling Green. Not sure that means he knows what they're about, and that's the reason he's not going to take them lightly. Players still, they're human, even though people who really follow college football, especially from the Vegas standpoint, know Bowling Green is a good team. Sometimes players, that first game of the season, they're playing Bowling Green, even though you have a lot of new starters. Now, and also you're thinking, if Ohio State, I'm not disrespecting Bowling Green, but if Ohio State's in a position to blow Bowling Green out, Urban Meyer may hold off the dogs. And what I mean by that is beating them by 20 instead of beating them by 30 or 40. Now, honestly, I can see this being more like a 45-24 game. I can see Bowling Green keeping this competitive and maybe keeping this close with, something able to happen in the fourth quarter. Now, the reason I'm not taking this, even though normally I would like Bowling Green to cover, is it is Ohio State, and they do have J.T. Barrett coming back, who's proven. And Bowling Green, it's a new quarterback. They lost Roger Moore, they lost Travis Green, another great receiver. They had Dieter, who's transferred to Alabama, and that kid is definitely good enough to play at Alabama. So they lost a lot of talent. I like Bowling Green if I'm wagering at the plus 27.5, but this is not one of my wagers for today. Now, we're going to go along, moving on Saturday. Let's look at the let's actually look at let's go ahead and look at Western Michigan taking on Northwestern, because this is going to be a very appealing matchup here as well. Now, Western Michigan, by a lot of expert accounts, is actually favored to win the Mid-American Conference. They have not won the Mid-American Conference since 1988, but they have a lot of talent there. P.J. Fleck is one of the higher respected coaches now, starting to become in the country. No telling how much longer he will be at Western Michigan, but Western Michigan does have 13 starters back, 8 on offense and 5 on defense. Now, last year, Western Michigan, they played 2 teams from the Big Ten. They lost to Michigan State in their opener. Actually, at home, they lost to Michigan State by 13, 24-37, and then they also lost to Ohio State, as we just talked about, 12-38. But they were 8-5. They were 6-2 in the Mid-American Conference, and then they won their bowl game 45-31 against Middle Tennessee State. Now, there's a lot of experience at the quarterback position. Western Michigan might have the best offense in the MAC this year. Last year, they averaged 36 points a game. 490 yards of total offense. That basically ranked them 26th in the nation in scoring and 17th in total yards per game. Defensively, they did allow a lot of points a game. They allowed 28 points a game. But they are playing a Northwestern team that obviously Northwestern is favored, but Northwestern is a little bit more of a, at least expected to be a little bit more of a defensive team. They have 5 starters back on offense and 6 back on defense. They played a MAC team last year. They won 24-19 against Ball State. Northwestern was last in the Big Ten when it came to average yards per play, 4.5 yards per play. So they were last in the Big Ten when it came to yards per play. But they were 10-3 overall. They beat Stanford. Losses were to Michigan, Iowa, and Tennessee. They did beat Stanford. They beat Ball State close. Now, in this particular game, I'm actually going to take a slightly more conservative approach on this game. This is going to be part of a 2-team teaser. So Western Michigan finds themselves a 6-point underdog. I think that they keep the game close. 6 is right along the lines of where it could be. So if you can get a tease 6 or 7 points. This incident, I'm going to use a 2-team teaser. I'm going to tease 7 points, and I'm going to take Western Michigan plus 13. I really don't. I don't see Western Michigan losing by more than 13. Now, obviously, you have to tease this with another game, but first official pick, we're going to take Western Michigan in a 2-team teaser plus 13 against the Northwestern Wildcats, okay? So no wager on Ohio State and Bowling Green. A 2-team teaser plus 17 on the Western Michigan Broncos. Now, the next game that we have Penn State and Kent State. Now, there's going to be another wager here. Now, with Kent State, not a very good football team. Not to knock anyone, but they weren't not a very good football team last year. But Kent State's strength is definitely on the offensive side of the ball. Now, and it's also an experience. They have 10 starters back on offense, 7 back on defense. They lost 2 games to Big Ten teams last year. They lost 52-3 to Illinois. and then 10-7 at Minnesota. But they don't score a lot. Now they do have a solid defense. Now they're playing Penn State. That also looks to be a defensive team here. I think that Kent State's going to have a hard time scoring against Penn State. I don't think that there's going to be too many points coming from the Golden Flashes. What I actually like on this game, I'm going to go with the under 46 points. Kent State and Penn State, we are going to go with under 46 points, and I'm trying not to keep this podcast too long, but I do want to get you good information on these games. But I looked at this one, and I like Penn State and Kent State to go under 46 points. Now, one more game here that we have. We also have Georgia State taking on Ball State. Now, Georgia State started off the season well at the end of the season last year, but they lost Nick Arbuckle, who combined for over 7,600 yards in the last 2 seasons. Besides that, they have a lot of talent back, but then you're losing one of the best quarterbacks in your conference, and you have a lot of talent back. So it's still a risky situation. Now, they did end up winning their last 4 games of the regular season. They started off 2-6. They won 4 games in a row, and then they lost their bowl game. They did beat Ball State at Ball State 31-19 last season, and they're going to be hosting. They are going to be hosting Ball State this time around. Now, Ball State, they do have 6 starters back on offense and 7 back on defense. This is coming back off of a 3-9 season. Ball State allowed almost just under 36 points a game last season, so they have a lot to improve on, and they are also coming in with a Ball State is also coming in with a first-year coach in Mike New. So I'm actually going to go with Georgia State in this game. I am wagering on this game. I'm taking Georgia State minus 3 points. Okay? These games are all on Saturday, by the way, that I've been discussing so far. Okay, we have another play that I'm going to make. This play is going to be the Ohio Bobcats. They are hosting Texas State. Which is going to be a battle of cats here. So, Texas State. First of all, let's go to Texas State. I'm not in the Mid-American Conference. They're in the Sun Belt Conference. Battle of Bobcats. Texas State's also the Bobcats. Texas State was 3-9 last year. Okay, they were 3-9. They were 119th in the country with allowing just over 39 points a game. They were 123rd in allowing 521 yards. Okay. Offensively scoring, they were 80th. Their 3 wins, they beat Prairie View A&M, South Alabama, and University of Louisiana Monroe. Okay, so they weren't very good last season. You've got a first-year coach coming in, Everett Withers, and then they only have 3 starters back on offense and 4 back on defense, although their quarterback is one of the players that's coming back. Now, Ohio on the other end, Ohio comes back with 8 starters on offense, 6 starters on defense. They went 8-5 last season. They lost to a very good Appalachian State team, 29-31, in their bowl appearance. And Appalachian State was 7-1 in the Sun Belt. They're in the same conferences as Texas State. They've got Frank Solich. You may remember him from Nebraska. He coaches the Ohio University Bobcats, and he's actually going to be in his 11th season. He's 139-80 in his overall, and then he's 80-61 in his career at Ohio. Now the Bobcats, they do have a balanced team both ways around, and I'd like, even though this is a big spread, I found this as low as I found this at 20.5, and I'm going to take Ohio 20.5. Even if you find 21, take Ohio. I'm taking Ohio. No disrespect to Texas State, but I think Ohio should smack them. I really do. First game of the season, Vegas probably doesn't want to make Ohio too big of a favorite, but I'm going to predict a score of 42-14. Take the Ohio Bobcats in this one, and then feel good about it. Now, another game with two big teams. Well, one big team. You've got the Miami, Ohio. They don't hate to be called Miami, Ohio. They like to be called Miami. But if you know what we're talking about, the MAC, you know which Miami we're talking to. I shouldn't have to tell you Miami, Ohio. But anyway, we're not talking about the Hurricanes. We're talking about Miami. We're talking about Miami Redhawks. Okay, so Miami is going to go and travel to Iowa in their first game of the season. Not too much is expected of Miami either. Last year, they were 117th in scoring, averaging just under 18 points a game. Miami is they allowed 32 points a game, which ranked them 95th in the country. Most of their offense, I don't want to get into too many stats, but they weren't very good. Okay, they were 109th in rushing offense and then 109th in total offense. And they're playing Iowa, that we know that actually flirted with that national championship appearance last year. If they could have beat Michigan State, they would have made things interesting. So, obviously, Iowa is a huge favorite in this game. Now, my concern with Iowa is a 27.5 point favorite. Not unreasonable, because they should beat Miami pretty bad. But the thing is, Iowa had a weird season in the sense that they didn't really blow anybody out. To be 12-2 and start the season off 12-0, they played a lot of close games. They only had one game all season that they won by more than 20 points. Okay, including, they had some games that were close, and the only game that they really won by a lot was 62-16 against North Texas, and they beat Purdue by 20 later on in the season. But I can see Iowa being low enough scoring to where they maybe don't cover this. So remember what I mentioned earlier? I was teasing Northwestern and Western Michigan, taking Western Michigan plus 13. This is the other part of that. Have confidence about this. Pair this pick with the Western Michigan pick. Tease 7 points. Take Iowa 20.5 points. I really think that that's a two-team teaser, MAC Big Ten teaser, that you can definitely feel good about. Okay? So, now I think that we have covered all of the games on Saturday. And we're going to go ahead and look at some of the games a little bit early in the week. Let's go ahead and look at Friday night, where let's look at our appealing matchup on Friday night that also has a spread on it. Oh, no, we do have one more game on Saturday. Let me go ahead and finish up Saturday. We actually have the Northern Illinois Huskies, who lost in the MAC championship game last year. They're going to be taking on the Wyoming Cowboys. Now, this is an interesting matchup. On paper, you kind of look at this and you're thinking, okay, Northern Illinois should beat Wyoming. Wyoming hasn't really done too much in recent history. Sometimes I like to watch Wyoming because they're one of those teams that'll randomly be on late at night on ESPN2, when there's not many other games on. But Wyoming is coming off of a 2-10 season. Not very good. They do have 18 starters back. They have 9 back on offense. Wait, if you count the punter, they have 9 back on offense, 8 back on defense, and they do have their punter. Now, the appealing thing in this game for me is that Northern Illinois is talented, but one of their question marks this year is going to be their front 7. And Wyoming's appeal is running the ball, pounding the ball. They have a great running back in Brian Hill, very nice player, and they're going to have to ride him to try to take care of things. Now, Wyoming only scored 19 points a game last year, and they gave up 34, and they were in rushing defense, they were 113th, allowing 225 yards a game. So Wyoming here is vulnerable in that sense. They're a 10-point underdog to Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois was a very good offensive team last year. Northern Illinois averaged 31 points a game, and their coach is in their 4th season, so they have some stability. Obviously, if you follow the MAC, as I was talking about Bowling Green earlier, you should know a little bit about Northern Illinois as far as at least being familiar with the name. They're going to be one of the better teams in the MAC. They always are. They lost to Ohio State by 3, but this kind of... I want to take Northern Illinois here, but with it being the first game of the season, with Wyoming having so many people back, I'm going to go ahead and not wager on this game. I probably should, but I'm not. Northern Illinois, I can see this game ending up something along the lines of, 21-14 or that 10 points. I'm just going to go ahead and stay away from that, especially with them traveling to Wyoming on the first game of the season. Honestly, that has a lot to do with it. So I'm just going to go ahead and stay away from. I'm going to go ahead and stay away from this game. I'm not making a wager. If you did make a wager, I'd take Northern Illinois. Now, Friday, very appealing matchup that should be exciting. You can see it on ESPNU. You're going to see the Toledo Rockets traveling at Arkansas State. Arkansas State is going to be looking for revenge. Okay, they played Toledo twice in 2015. Once was at the end of the 2014 season. They played in the bowl game, and Toledo beat them 63-44. And then last year, Toledo beat them in Toledo 37-7. So Toledo is consistent. They've been one of the solid programs in the MAC. They won 10 games last year, including wins at Arkansas, against Iowa State, against this Arkansas State team, and then they also beat Temple in the Boca Raton Bowl. So Toledo is a very solid football team. They do have a first-year coach, Jason Candle, coming over after Matt Campbell left them for Iowa State. They have 8 starters back on offense, 4 back on defense. The question mark here for Toledo is the defense. How is that defense going to hold up? They had a very good defense last year. They had a very good defense last year. They ranked 10th in the country in rushing yards allowed per game, going up against Iowa State. Now, Kareem Rush didn't play last year. Sorry, Arkansas State did not play last year against Arkansas State. But in the bowl game the previous season, he did rush for 271 yards and 5 touchdowns. Kareem Hunt is one of the most talented players in the Mid-American Conference. Take Toledo. Plus their 3.5-point underdog. Even if you could get it at 3, but definitely at 3.5, go ahead and take the Toledo Rockets and feel good about it there. So, I think that we've got all the games covered. Okay, so let's just go ahead and recap. You've got Toledo at Arkansas State. Take Toledo plus 3.5. Okay, going on to Saturday, Bowling Green and Ohio State. We are passing on that game. No wager. Okay? Kent State at Penn State. Take under 46 points. Miami at Iowa. Tease it. Take the Iowa Hawkeyes minus 20.5 points. That's 7-point teaser. Of course, if the spreads go down lower, that's great. Texas State at Ohio. Take the Ohio Bobcats minus 20.5. Okay, Northern Illinois and Wyoming. Go ahead and stay away from that game. Western Michigan at Northwestern. Tease that. Western Michigan plus 13. And then finally, Georgia State minus 3.5 against Ball State. Of course, by the hook, go ahead and take Georgia State minus 3. So, for the record, let's have fun. Let's go out there and go ahead and wager on some games. Official picks one last time if you're not following. Take Georgia State minus 3.5 against Ball State. Matter of fact, by the hook,
We're gonna play it safe this first week. Take Georgia State -3 at Ball State. Okay, that's one play. Take Toledo +3.5 at Arkansas State. That is 2 plays. Take Kent State and Penn State under 46 points. That is 3 plays. And then go ahead and take Ohio -20.5 at Texas State. That is 4 plays. And then the 5th play, we have a 2-team teaser. Take Western Michigan +13 against Northwestern. And take Iowa -20.5 against the Miami, Ohio Redhawks. And go ahead and have fun. Thank you so much for tuning into the Mid-American Conference podcast. Once again, go ahead and check out all of our picks, including some intriguing MLB picks as we're wrapping up the season. Check me out on Get Sports Strong at sportswatchmonitor.com and Betsportsstrong at captain.com. Follow me on Twitter at Get Sports Strong. And everyone have a great day and enjoy some college football.